Hi, it's Paul.
Interesting.
It's Netflix and No Chill. It's a show about Netflix with people with no chill. And apparently people don't know how to stop and move forward. And people are just ruining shit left and right for me.
Important. It's not plot important.
Damn it. See?
It's important to me, but
in this show,
this is why you have to do what I do.
One of the co-hosts of this show
is
faithfully goes through and handles the show a week at a time. One person, however, does not, and then she spoils 3 plot points.
It was 2. What was the third? It was only 2. And they also aren't important. They're not plot.
It's a massive important thing.
It doesn't move the plot forward.
We're not going to discuss it in this episode because it doesn't happen this episode. It happens later. So see this anger, see all this? It's going to happen again once we get to those points where things have been spoiled.
They're not important to the plot.
Jessica Jones, episode 4.
So bad. You talk, so don't spoil anything. Go ahead.
Jessica's trying to find a monster. Trish has sex with a British boyfriend.
Okay. Now that scene, that got me, because before that, Jessica's the super son is in her apartment, and he's screwing around, and he's like, if I were to fall out this window, would you catch me? And he actually does fall, and Jess catches him, but she catches him by the leg, and that's when the super and his ex-wife walk in, and they're like, what are you doing to our son? Oh my god. So then he's like, you gotta leave, like, still very solid on evicting her. But he comes back later on, and he's like, yeah, Vito told me what happened, and I wanted to thank you. So he brings her, of course, booze, and he brings her a bottle of Maker's Mark, like some high-end, classy shit. I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. And they start making out, and Jess tries to take it a little further, and he kind of blows her off and stops her, and is just like, this is a lot. This is really weird. I'm gonna go. So he leaves, and then suddenly there's somebody on top of somebody, and I'm like, wait, what is happening? What's going on? And it's Trish and the British guy, and I was shook. I was like, oh, they got me.
That's it? That's all that happens this episode?
I don't know. What else happens, because I don't want to spoil anything.
They're still trying to find they're trying to find the monster, and they get a lead on a new person, and it turns out it's not the monster, it's actually the nurse, one of the nurses that was
part of
IGH, and while this is going on, I can't remember names, man. The other private detective, I want to say something.
First name's Price.
Yes, there it is, Price. Because I was going to try to guess his last name, and it would have just come off as
Chang.
What is it?
I thought it was just Price Chang.
Yeah, see, I didn't want to guess that and make it sound like horribly racist towards Asians and just start naming off Asian last names. But yeah, okay, Price Chang sends somebody in to steal all of Jessica's stuff, and in the process gets killed by the monster.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he gets literally like there's.
Oh, it's brutal.
Like, she lives up to her name. Like, she is a monster, and she literally when you always hear that phrase, like, I'm gonna tear you limb from limb, and it doesn't really happen because we're human beings. We can't actually do that. Well, she does.
Wow.
She does, and through that time, Trish is now starting to kind of spiral and do things that she shouldn't be doing, like huffing that weird stuff that Simpson was taking, and she's all like alpha mailing it up, and yeah, things just go bad because they get back they get back to Jessica's apartment, and everybody assumes that Jessica did it, and that's how this episode ends. This particular episode, this episode ends with Jessica getting arrested.
You really watched all that and stopped?
Yes, I did.
Why do that to yourself?
Because that's the purpose of the show.
Okay, and
It's like The Walking Dead. This is we handled.
I actually watched the latest episode of that.
It was actually pretty good, but it wasn't on Netflix, so we're not going to care about it. I did get to also try, and I emphasize try, to watch a new anime that came out named A.I.C.O. Reincarnated. Now see, here's the thing. I am a dub person. I love dubs just because you don't necessarily have to pay 100% attention because you can hear everything going on. Don't do that to yourself with this one. The sub is infinitely better. Just because, I'm calling it now. 2018, A.I.C.O. Reincarnated is hands down the worst dub of 2018. I would venture to say the worst dub of the 2010s.
Oh my god, really that bad?
Because it's just, like, we don't try to cuss too often, but it was fucking terrible. It was hands down the worst dub I have heard in years.
That bad?
We try to when we are doing these recommendations or reviews on Netflix and No Chill, we try to get through 3 episodes so that way you get kind of an idea, because most of these other shows are an hour long, and if you cut out the openers and the endings of animes, you can actually fit 3 episodes into the same time frame. I got through 1 full episode and maybe 5 minutes, and I literally had to turn it off. I couldn't handle it. The assumption is, or at least as far as I've gotten with this, is we were experimenting with artificial humans, and the first transfer of a human mind into an artificial body triggered a mutation that basically destroyed part of Japan.
Oh, jeez.
And they're trying to they find out years later that the only way to fix that is to take the original person back to basically ground zero and reverse engineer the cure. And this sounds amazing. And the first couple minutes were awesome because the actors that were used in the dub were very good. And then the tonal change happens and the dub becomes terrible.
Ooh, I don't like any of that.
The dialogue, the spacing of the talk, the conversations are just utterly terrible. And somebody's already said that the sub is better, but I can't see how the sub is too much better because looking at the way the mouths are moving, stuff like that, the odd dialogue pauses seem to also be in the Japanese version too. So I think it's more bad writing than anything. I mean, I might go back and try and watch it sub to see if there's anything better, but this is definitely hands down the worst dub I've watched, and as a result, I couldn't even get through 3 episodes of an anime that, at least from an art and a graphic standpoint, was actually very well done. It was beautifully done, and that I think made me more angry because of all that, because it was something I would definitely love watching, based on the animes that I do tend to gravitate towards, and it was just not.
Disappointing.
Yeah, it was horribly disappointing. I'd rather watch Devilman Crybaby more.
Oh jeez.
No. I'd rather watch that first episode on loop several times over. That's how bad this was.
I'm not watching anything new as far as anime lately. I'm just rewatching Inuyasha.
Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, that's it, guys. Starting next week, we will have a new episode of Jessica Jones, episode 5, and also the first episode of Lost in Space, which is a personal favorite of mine. Growing up, I was a huge fan of the original 60s and 70s series. The camp. What?
What is? Ignore me. My hair was just.
Oh, okay. I thought you were making fun of
No,
like my
it was-
age. I was just
no,
like,
I
I wasn't
was-
alive in the
my
60s
hair
and
was
70s.
just like.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, I wasn't alive in the 60s, in the 70s. It just happened to really like those shows. And I can't wait to see how this goes because, at least from the trailer standpoint, this really does look like it can be an awesome series. I could be wrong because I loved the trailer for Bright, and man, that was a shit show.
Still don't want it.
Nah, don't.
I hope it's good though. I'm looking forward to it.
It's what, Bright or
No,
Lost?
Lost in Space.
Lost in Space. Yeah, Bright was terrible. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks again. It's Paul.
And Jestina, please.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit that notification button because for some reason YouTube has been kind of slacking on their regular notifications. So make sure that you're getting an email. We do this show every Friday at 4 p.m. and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.